Peter and the other disciples started for the tomb. Both were running. But the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. He bent over, looked in, and the strips of linen were lying there, but did not go in. Then Simon Peter came along behind him. He went straight into the tomb and saw the strips of linen, as well as the cloth that had been left behind, that had been wrapped around Jesus' head. The cloth was still lying in the place, separate from the linen. Finally, the other disciple, who had reached the tomb first, also went inside. He saw and he believed. So let me paint the picture for you all. Early in the morning, it's dark, and Mary Magdalene is going to the tomb where her Lord was. She is sad. She's expecting the emptiness. She's expecting to see that stone there and quiet. When she gets there, the stone's rolled away and the tomb is empty. She freaks out. She runs back to go see Peter and John. Now they rush to the tomb like it's a championship track meet. And they get there and they peek inside and it's empty. All they see is the linen off to the side, and they see the folded napkin sitting off on its own. Now, some evangelical pastors say that a folded napkin in Hebrew culture means that I'm coming back, I'm not done. But there's really no evidence to support that. But what they do say, or what the Bible does give us a real message, is that Jesus walked out. No one stole his body. And let's examine this a little bit more. If a robber came, those linens were expensive. The spices itself and everything there would have been worth 83 years of a salary. And they would have left that behind? Makes absolutely no sense. Then you need to think about this. If a robber came in, let's say he stole your washer and dryer. If your dryer is full, is he going to take the time to fold it? Robbers do not do laundry. Jesus got up and he walked out that tomb. Death could not hold our Savior. He rose again. You see, does everybody remember Lazarus? When he came out that tomb, when Jesus called him out, remember, he was wrapped up like a mummy. People had to help him come out. Why? Because Lazarus was brought back to life. He was alive again. But see, Jesus rose on that resurrection power. Jesus was transformed. He wasn't just a body stepping out that had to be helped. He was free from everything that had him bound. Jesus kept that promise that he had. He promised to rise again, and he did rise. He stepped out. You see, death and those clothing and the wrappings, that cannot keep him bound. That had no authority over him. And if we look, even that folded napkin is saying something. Again, remember we talked about the robbers? Would they take time to unwrap a body? No. Would they take time to sit there and fold something? No. But that just showed Jesus was not in a rush. He wasn't in a hurry. He was in control of everything that happened. He was in control of that entire situation. Because he was able to rise. He transformed. Unlike Lazarus that had to be helped, Jesus had the power of God in him, and that brought him out. When Jesus rose, that was signifying something very special to us. Like I just mentioned, the body wasn't stolen. It wasn't some parlor trick where he was able to, flash something and it came out. No, Jesus stepped out of death and stepped out of that tomb with authority. He showed that the plan that God had was going to happen. The promises that he made, that I will die, but I will rise again, was going to come to fruition. If we all remember in Genesis 3:15, God says, I will place enemy between you and the woman, between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head. You will bruise his heel. God was telling us then, back in that time, Satan had a plan. And his plan was to incorporate sin into this world. And that plan worked. There's sin here. But you see, God had that ultimate plan. That ultimate plan was Jesus. Death could not hold our Savior. Death could not have power over him at all. He was able to step out of that death. He was able to reclaim what God had promised. He was able to set that new covenant that we all have now. We're no longer bound by the old covenant because it's a new covenant with God. You see, with Jesus, when he promised that he rose, he was able to do that because he was no longer wrapped up in the death that we had. He transformed through that, like I mentioned before. So we, in turn, don't have to be wrapped up in that sin. Jesus had the power to come back. Jesus had the power of resurrection. And now that gives us the power through him to no longer be buried. The way he was able to walk out that tomb, he allows us to be able to walk out of whatever tomb of sin that we're under right now. The way he was able to rise again, he's allowing us to rise in that confidence that we're supposed to have. We are no longer bound by anything that Satan has us bound over. Jesus gives us that joy that we're supposed to have. Jesus gives us that peace that we can have. Jesus gives us the confidence to say, I serve a risen Savior. Amen. You see, Jesus is the one that gives us everything that we need. Because of his resurrection, we are no longer slaves to sin. Because of his resurrection, we are no longer bound like Lazarus was bound when he came out that tomb, because we're now free because of what Jesus did for us. He restores our confidence. Like I said, he resurrected our joy. He resurrects us. Through Christ, we become new creatures, new creations. Our minds are transformed, and we are living with him in glory forever. Most of them.